Hello users, and welcome back to Above It All, the series where I, the smartest person on the goddamn planet, tell you the things that you need to know. So, of course, I'm gonna start doing this. I'm gonna start being like one of those cringy motherfuckers. Give me a like on my video. If I get 10 likes on this video, I probably won't remember and will never find out, but it would really help me out, so really just do that anyway. Coronavirus may never go away. World Health Organization warns. Okay. So, I highlighted some bits of this that I'm going to read and then I will discuss. The UN urged governments to make mental health considerations part of their overall response. That's the first thing I highlighted because it is something that's super important, and I've said this on my program here, is that the idea that the coronavirus may go away is kind of like a bedtime story that we're all telling ourselves, like a lullaby. Also, my glasses are a little smudgy, and it's starting to piss me off. So, but it's kind of like a little bit of a bedtime story. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, when everything's over, when this is all over, I can't wait to go to the movies. Like for me personally, my state started opening up. I live in North Carolina. We're in like this like weird phase fucking cringe plan. The people in power know that no matter what happens, they will be okay. And that's really the thing that I think is the biggest cause for alarm here. The people that are making these decisions are the ones that no matter what happens, literally, they can do whatever they want in the safety of their own governor's mansions and the safety of their own big houses, and they will be fine no matter what. So the calculus for them is, okay, well, we're going to sacrifice X amounts of human lives and destroy the morale of Y amounts of human lives for Z amounts of corporate profits. And the corporations are then going to lobby and make sure that I get more money so that I can buy my 16th jacuzzi. And that's the basic idea behind all the states reopening. So one of the things here is, like, for me personally, I don't have a job, so I'm kind of lucky. People in my family are essential workers. So we're in a situation where we're able to get by, and the stimulus package that gave everyone in the household $1,200 definitely helped out. It's not, obviously that's not there anymore. And that's why a UBI would be so interesting, because like at this point I don't have to worry about food. You may notice in the background I've got like a pasta stockpile. And so I'm fine on food, but I know not everyone is fine. And that's one thing that's super important here, is whether or not you are okay, whether or not you're sitting at home and you're just at home all day looking at the internet, or you do have a job, or whatever your situation is, you have to understand that there are people out there that aren't as lucky as us, that aren't in a situation where they can just sit at home and make YouTube videos. And you know what I mean? So like, and that carries a toll. Like for me personally, even though my state is about to open up, I'm not going to go outside. I'm probably, and keep in mind, I'm 23, going to be 24 this month. Nobody look at me, please, I'm old. But like, I'm in a situation where my formative years have already happened, but this will still probably cement, like, whenever this does eventually, potentially, possibly go away, and life returns to normal, we're going to be in a different normal. And the thing that people don't understand is there are people behind the scenes, and Donald Trump is openly talking about the way to draft the new normal. And the new normal is going to involve corporations owning everything. Small businesses are going to be gone. Mom and pop shops, they're gone. Like, this is going to be the new normal. And so, but a lot of people are just focused on, when can I go back outside? When can I go back outside? That they're missing the forest for the trees, I think is the term. And again, it is mental health is going to be super important, because there's a lot, like, especially people that are in their childhoods, in their teenage years, like, I go outside, I hang out with my friends, and now all of a sudden school is canceled. I'm home with my parents all day, every day, for potentially like the rest of the year. Like, how is that going to affect people for the rest of their lives? I don't know. And we live in a country where, of course, with the unemployment, people are losing... There's another smudge in my glasses, goddamn. People are losing their health insurance by the fuckload. So it's like, what if you were 16 years old and, this say lasts 2 years of, recommending to stay inside. But like the thing is, like, you're 16, you know how to use the internet, you're relatively intelligent, you know how dangerous this is. You're not like a 40-year-old, 50-year-old, or a boomer who's just like, browses their Facebook and then like sees their friends say, you want to go hang out, I heard COVID's a hoax. And that's one of the things, is young people do have a very alarmingly high ability to perceive what media is correct and what's not compared to older generations. I know that myself, being on the cusp of Z and millennial. There's a lot of people that are older millennials that have a hard time with using the internet, and then Zoomers kind of just understand usually that, it's a lot easier for us, and I'm going to identify as an honorary Zoomer in this instance, and this is the only time I will do so. It's a lot easier for people that are younger to understand and parse through media, to know like, oh yeah, this is actually a really big deal. And, sometimes if your parents might not think it's that big of a deal because they're not tuned in, and all mainstream media is doing is just kind of telling us like, yeah, it's really bad, but also Trump is terrible and it's all his fault, which, it's 98% his fault because he's the president of the United States. But the lasting implications of this are going to go a long way. Therapy as it is in the United States of America is already kind of like shunned. It's already kind of laughed at and mocked, and the industry is not really properly put together. I know as a transgender person that getting proper therapy is nearly impossible. Just finding a therapist who's not a piece of garbage and who's actually able to help you is such a ridiculously difficult task. I gave up trying years ago. And so like that, an already crippled and already terrible underfunded industry, but with a gigantic increase in need, is going to create problems. So the UN urging governments to make mental health considerations part of their overall response, that's going to be a lot easier for every other country that has a Medicare or medical system that we don't. And that's why the United States, we are going to be living in a universe where the United States is never going to be a sole superpower again, I think. I think in 10 years from now, we're looking at a completely different geopolitical environment from this. The fact that we don't have a universal healthcare system, unless one's implemented soon, which I doubt is going to happen, that is going to be death to this empire. And that's sad to see. But there's more than this. I know I've spent almost 8 minutes on the first part, but it is important to put this on the table. This virus may just become another endemic virus in our communities, and this virus may never go away. Dr. Ryan told the virtual press conference from Geneva, HIV has not gone away, but we have come to terms with the virus, and that's super important as well. We may live in a society where people may catch the coronavirus, and they know how to treat it well, and it's like, like maybe in 2027, like someone will be like, yeah, I was in the hospital over the weekend, man. I got corona, bro. It's just like, I had a bit of cough, and then they gave me the syrup, and, I couldn't move my legs for about 3 years, but, man, I got corona, bro. And, like, that may be something that we deal with in a few years from now, where people just catch corona, and it's just like, oh, that's just one of those things. That's totally possible. I think that's very likely. And that's something, again, that people aren't necessarily ready for, and that's why it's such an issue. But if I can scroll down some more here, Dr. Tedros warned that there was no guaranteed way of easing restrictions without triggering a second wave of infections. So people keep saying, oh, the curve's been flattened. Look, we didn't need to do this at all. Those are the Republicans in the United States of America. The curve was flattened, and it took forever because of the lockdown. Like, I saw this image before doing these videos today, of Wisconsin apparently opened up their bars, and last night there were literally packed, people were scrunched and bunched in, breathing on each other, no masks in sight. And the second wave is going to be a lot worse than the first wave, because the first wave we kind of started a lot too late. But we started the lockdowns as the first wave was spreading. But the thing about that is we haven't properly quarantined all the people with the coronavirus in all these different areas around the country. So now that the coronavirus has kind of a home base in every state in the United States, a second wave is going to be exponentially, significantly worse than the first wave. Because the first wave, they didn't have those home bases. The virus did not have these epicenters where they could cling on to and expand from. Now it's already expanded. Every single state has got at least one area where there's untraced, uncounted, and unquarantined corona cases. And that is why the second wave will be a lot worse. The second wave, we could be looking at a situation where every major city in the United States is on permanent lockdown or just like has to be completely disbanded. We could see a situation, theoretically, where something like New York City is like, will turn into like, you know, the pyramids of Egypt, like an ancient civilization. We could literally be in that kind of situation. Like a Chernobyl-like event could occur with this virus. And now, obviously, that's like a devastating, like, worst case scenario. But given the fact that our government is not doing a damn thing to actually combat this virus, a worst case scenario might be a little too nice. You know what I mean? Like, you might need to just completely think outside the box to come up with what might actually happen here. And we live in very scary times, which again, mental health is so important for people to stay even remotely optimistic. Dr. Ryan added, there is some magical thinking going on that lockdowns work perfectly, and that unlocking lockdowns will go great. Both are fraught with dangers. Again, people think, oh, the lockdown worked. We beat the virus. Let's go to the bar and get a pint. No. I don't think I need to reiterate that for this audience. If you're watching this video, I think you're good. But yeah, this is bad news. This is really bad news. And personally, again, I don't know if I'll ever go outside again in the same capacity that I did before. Like me, I was very sheltered growing up. I was never really a huge fan of outside stuff. Over the last few years, after my transition, I felt more comfortable going outside and presenting myself in public. And I got like a solid year of going outside frequently and enjoying the world. But now I'm probably never going to do that again. I'm going to revert to my old ways of playing video games in my bedroom all day. And so when you complain about the gaming on this channel, just know I'm gaming and I'm not going outside. But yeah, like that's the thing is like we need to really readapt our society. And the problem is anything that we do to do that will leave out the most suffering and the most poor vulnerable people. The people that lost their jobs, but there's no rent moratorium or eviction moratorium. And now that there's so many more homeless people. There's, again, children are now starving. I covered this video. 1 in 5 children are starving. Go watch that. I did that the other day. 1 in 5. Like if you go to a kindergarten classroom of like 20 students, 4 of those students are starving. Did I do that math correctly? 4 times 5? Yes. Okay, I'm sorry. And that's just horrifying. That's horrifying. During a pandemic, where, again, this is the societal collapse that we've all been waiting for. Honestly, like, y'all need to brace for impact, because this is not going to be fun, and it's only going to get more and more unfun as time goes on. And really, the virus hasn't changed, so you getting exhausted and saying, you know what, I don't feel like wearing my mask today. The virus hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is your perspective, your exhaustion, you wanting to go outside and breathe freely again, the selfish cocksucker that you are, and then that's going to be what gets your bitch ass. So you got to be safe every time you leave the house. And this is going to be a part of our culture for a long time. And, just leave a comment. Tell me what you're doing during this moment. Obviously, you should be watching all of my YouTube videos. I upload like 5 hours of content a day. I'm like a TV channel, almost. I'd love to have like a 24-hour live stream. But, maybe I will at some point. Maybe that's what I'll build for. Get a 24-hour live stream going. And, I could probably do that. With all the content that I've done on YouTube over the years, I could probably do that. But anyway, you gotta stay sane somehow. And subscribing to my YouTube channel is definitely going to help. But yeah, this is, again, we need to be into the mindset of our world has changed. And I know that there's some things you wanted to do that you planned on doing before the world changed. But I'm sorry, honey, you're never going to do them because the world is changing. And the world will never go back to the way it was before. And we are now permanently in a new era. And the sooner we really just And again, there's a difference between understanding it in an ethereal sense and understanding it on a visceral sense. And the sooner we have that visceral, every fiber of our being and every fiber of our minds can understand exactly what that means and entails, the sooner we can actually get to work, and the sooner we can actually adapt to this new thing. Because really, this is a survival of the fittest kind of scenario, in where we're going to need to adapt to a new circumstance. And again, all of our other problems haven't gone away. This is only going to exacerbate everything. This could totally be the collapse of society as we know it, and it's up to us to prevent that from happening. But, who knows? Maybe the heat will kill it. Maybe it's just the flu.